Welcome back, Leafs fans, to Game Over Toronto here on the SDPN channel. You've got Harnish, Armaan, and a special guest tonight, editor and writer for On the Forecheck and Renegades of Puck correspondent Brian Basson. Welcome to the show, Brian. Happy to have you.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Was real excited to do this. Today's been a little bit crazy, but I was really excited to come in here and get to chat with you guys.
Yeah, there was a little bit of scare with the weather down in Nashville right now, eh?
Yeah.
Happy you're all safe and everything is all good, but it's scary.
Yeah, hockey was a good distraction. Hockey was a very good distraction after a harrowing couple of hours, that's for sure.
And here in Leafs Nation, or I guess Toronto Nation, hockey was a little bit of a distraction. Yeah, Canada Nation. Hockey was a little bit of a distraction over the absolute shit show of a saga that was the the Ohtani situation. I'm sorry, Brian, we're gonna get into the game real quick, but we have to take a little moment just to talk about this. Because the
very
pandemonium, absolute pandemonium that was happening in Toronto, in Canada. There was flights being tracked, restaurant bookings being tracked, reporters coming out and confirming the sign-in.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he signs for the
Heartbreak.
Dodgers. Yep.
And of course the Dodgers got him. I mean, come on.
Armaan,
we should have known. We should have known the entire time that the Dodgers were going to get him, but we had to get our hopes up. They had to get our hopes up with that.
I will say,
turns out to be a rich Dragon's Den person flying from Anaheim to Toronto.
Yep. Like it really was fun to watch because I think, you guys up there in Canada, you guys haven't gotten to experience very much of the, we see the plane tracking stuff happen all the time in college football and stuff down here, especially in the South, with coaches going places and all the stuff. And so it was nice because it was seeing it's like you guys are getting to experience that kind of craziness. It's almost always the first thing the first person that blows up that says, look at this flight path. It's almost always wrong and completely misleading, but It's fun. It's fun to guess.
Yeah, it was a wild 24 hours for everyone in Canada who was following.
Well, you guys are putting on a pretty good face, despite it, because it's pretty devastating stuff for y'all up there. So
I don't know, man. The Leafs fans were booing Ryan O'Reilly tonight. I think they were just bitter that they lost out on another guy. Yeah,
I mean,
rough.
So.
Hey, I mean, we get the last laugh, I guess, at least against the Preds tonight, right? 4-0. This was probably one of the most, I guess, complete games by Toronto in a long time. And especially with Samsonov coming in essentially just out of nowhere. Like, that Woll injury was horrible. We got a quick update on him. It was a high ankle sprain. So he's going to be week to week. But the thing that worries me is this is a recurrent issue. So Woll also suffered an ankle injury during his recovery process in 2022, and that's why he wasn't able to make it to training camp that season. So hopefully things go by pretty quickly. Hopefully he recovers quickly because he was on a hot streak. He was playing really well. And Samsonov to come in tonight, I mean, the last time he's played was during November 24th, I think. That was Black Friday. And
and he's coming off an illness. Off an illness. That's a tough kind of assignment to have, especially because Martin Jones is the backup now. So if he does get pulled, it's not like Joseph Woll's coming back in. And Woll's been excellent recently. So tough assignment for Samsonov. And also, this was our first win with more than one goal as a lead since November 11th, which is insane. It's our first game that wasn't a one-goal game since November 11th. We played a lot of tight games, so it's nice to see a full 60, especially after that horrible Senators game. But
for sure.
I mean, I would say that, I think that's really good assessment because, again, Toronto did everything right pretty much in every area. And it's this type of performance and what we saw from Nashville.
Oh my god,
are you okay?
Yeah.
That just went down the wrong pipe. Oh my god. Carry on. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna die off camera.
No, you're good. Give you a second if you need it. So but yeah, so I mean the teams under Peter Laviolette or John Hines, this type of, just offensive no-show from Nashville kind of would seem like, they just got outplayed. But Andrew Brunette has had kind of turned this team completely inside out. He's working with a really young team. A lot of the stars, Matt Duchene, Ryan Johansson, guys like that are all with different teams now. But he's had them really focused in on generating lots of high danger chances and things like that. And tonight, I mean,
like, I think that was the biggest concern for me coming out of the Senators game. Like, Lagesson is also sick right now, so Lajoie is in, and then Benoit is in, and of course Timmins is in because we have 3 or 4 injuries to our back end. And they've been a little shaky recently in terms of our defensive core. So I don't know if they just, rallied around Samsonov coming back and just needing to kind of elevate their game, but literally one of the most complete games I've seen them play. And, credit to the Leafs today. I think they really contained, and even when they were up 2-0, 3-0, they really never let off the pedal. And they really just controlled most of the play throughout the game. And that's coming up, like, and Nashville's not an easy team to face. Like, I think they've won, slow start, but they've won, 9 of their last 11 coming into this game?
Yeah, 9-2 in the last 11.
Yeah, so, they're a hot team, and they've got a lot of great players. So, credit to the Leafs. I think they really did put together a good game against a pretty tough opponent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Filip Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly have been red hot. UC Saros and Kevin Lankin. I mean, they brought him in at the beginning of last season after they had let go of Connor Ingram, which looking back now is a little hard to think about. But, Kevin Lankin came in last season, he was a very, very good backup. I mean, I thought he might actually get some offers, by some other teams, but Nashville brought him back, and he's been good in the short amount of time he's played. I mean, he's only played in a handful, but Forsberg and O'Reilly, I mean, they made plays. They looked good, but I think only because they are making plays on defense, and that's not what you want out of your top line is O'Reilly and Forsberg blocking a ton of shots and stealing things in the defensive zone. You want them up there doing something, but again, they couldn't even get close to Samsonov all night. So yeah, what Toronto was doing in the game plan they had, it worked to perfection.
Yeah, and honestly, Lankinen, for letting in 3 goals, he was pretty damn good throughout the game. I don't think any of those goals were on him, and he kept them in it, I think, honestly. And it's that's straight from the beginning of the game with the Marner breakaway. I mean, that's a tough first good chance to have to stop. But yeah, I thought he was excellent too, Lankinen.
Yeah. I mean, he still finished saving, above, below expected. So I mean, he was above expected. So I mean, I think they had about almost 4 expected goals.
It ended 4.67. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty incredible that he was able to fight that much off and still keep this game, because after that the second period started and it was all Toronto just from the jump there. I think Nashville did a good job of kind of keeping Toronto contained in the first. They slowed the game down for themselves, but slowed the game down for Toronto, kind of keeping guys like Matthews and Tavares kind of pushed to the outside. And, I thought that Nashville might be able to work with that coming into the second if they can, get some stretch passes, get some rush chances off of those. But, there were guys playing, minute and a half shifts just near constantly.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to generate anything when you're constantly on your heels in your own zone. And, Toronto eventually, that's what that difference. I think, Nashville is a good team. They're not, again, I still have my doubts if it's a playoff team.
Yeah.
But, I'm very impressed with the work of Barry Trotz and Andrew Brunette so far. I mean, this is a little bit better than I was expecting, and I think a lot of people were expecting. But that's the difference between a team that's scrappy, a team that's kind of put together by a lot of old parts and things like that, because they're rebuilding this team, and then a team with a bunch of established veterans, superstars. That's where the talent gap shows up, is what you saw in the second and third. There's just Nashville just couldn't keep up, and Toronto pushed them off their game, and credit to it, because only a couple teams have been able to do that over the last 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out too that a lot of the goals that we saw today, right? We did get that one power play goal, but the first 2 goals, 5-on-5 goals, something that we've been really harping about for the Leafs, right? Their lack of scoring on 5-on-5 play, and especially the fact that we got scoring from our top line and our fourth line. That was great to see. Kampf, second goal in 2 games. He's looking really, really good out there.
That was a nice goal too. That did not look like a David Kampf usual goal. That rush, fighting off McDonough, who was back checking and roofing it. That was a goal scorer's goal, and it came from David Kampf. It's good to see. I mean,
yeah, he split the defense there. He was playing
great pass by Timmins. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And even the Matthews, man, 2 goals today. He looked unstoppable. And to be fair, I think it was Matthews too that rung it off the post as well earlier on.
Mhm.
And so they had a great game offensively. They looked fantastic, and the cherry on top was that power play goal. I mean, before that, I think we were 0 and
Oh
4
for
in the
5, oh for
0 for
4, yeah.
4, 0 for 5 in power plays, and finally we were able to score one on the last power play. So that was really really cool to see. But yeah, what were your thoughts, Armaan? I guess on the 5-on-5
So
turnaround.
yeah, 5-on-5, I thought they were really good. I thought they were excellent throughout, which is good to see. Like you said, I think coming into this game, our 5-on-5, I think, is bottom half of the league
Hmm.
overall, like in terms of percentage, which is not great to see. We've been kind of getting by on just skill plays and finishing talent, and occasionally the special teams. But since the past few games, our special teams have sort of dried up. At least our power play. That power play goal ended up being our first and I think or second. We were 1 in 20 coming into that power play, so now we're 2 in 21. But yeah, they've really struggled recently on 5-on-5. So I thought, pretty excellent game overall in terms of controlling the 5-on-5 play. I think the expected goals came around 2.45 to the Leafs to 0.96 for the Predators. So that's a pretty controlled game.
Mhm.
Obviously, the Predators also hit a few posts, and
Yep.
1 inch, to the side or down, and
Mhm.
this game can change pretty drastically. I think Tommy Novak ended up hitting 2 posts on 2 different
Yeah, he
power
did.
play opportunities. So, there's a bit of luck involved there, but you create your own luck. And I think that the Leafs overall, especially on 5-on-5, were getting slot chance, shots
Mhm.
consistently. I'm looking at like the shot chart here, and yeah, like it's like a solid 10, 15 shots right in front of the net from the
Mhm.
Leafs. So, that's what you want to see. We had a few chances that, like John Tavares and I think it was Tyler Bertuzzi, where they were in prime scoring areas, but then the puck just kind of hit off the stick,
Mhm.
and that's another one
Yeah.
where if they get a clean shot on, that's probably a goal as well. So I thought
Yeah.
overall, just an excellent, complete game from the Leafs, and it's nice to see the power play finally hit.
Yeah, and that's bad. I mean, it was at a good time too because Nashville coming in, I think they had killed 25 of their last 30, and I mean, I think now they're at 26 of 35. So I
Yeah,
mean, like Nashville and their penalty kill has not been good this season. I think that they've hit this recent stretch has really made it seem a lot better. But I think they came in and they still killed 4 out of 5, which
yeah,
against Toronto, that's pretty. I mean,
pretty
you
solid.
guys, it's normally pretty good. I mean, they blanked the Lightning just 2 days ago on the power play as well. So, that's good that I think that finally kind of broke down. You had enough chances, I think that you know, eventually it was going to happen because Kevin Lankinen, again, I think he had an incredible game. I mean, kind of like third star of the night type of thing, just because he kind of held it down. It's like what's that old story when they say, the guy walking on the beach, he saw one pair of footprints in the sand. That's Kevin Lankinen. He was carrying the team. That's why you only saw the one.
Yeah,
So credit to Toronto, came out, looked really dominant, really impressive by up and down the lineup. A couple of guys, Noah Gregor had an incredible game. I mean,
he,
and it's just, I mean, his numbers are ridiculous. I mean, look at 5-on-5 shot attempts when he was on the ice, 11 to 4 for Toronto.
yeah.
Shots 5-0, a goal. A 97 expected goal percentage for him on ice, and then gets that, picks up that goal at the end there. So I mean, he had just an incredible game, and I think he had 9 minutes. He didn't even hit 10 minutes at 5-on-5. So
Yeah. He's been
credit to
excellent for the
him.
Leafs. I mean, like easily our best pickup over the offseason in terms of just pure value for contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like in that fourth line, I don't know if you know, but early in the season, they got shelled so hard. Gregor,
Yep.
Kempf, and Reeves, like they
Hmm.
were consistently getting shelled. And this was probably Ryan Reeves' best game of the season as well. He created a few
Mm-hmm.
chances for checking, and he wasn't a complete liability in his own end, which is more than I'm more than happy with that, performance from Ryan Reeves. And Kempf and Gregor really, really drove that line to some pretty solid scoring chances, which is not the common occurrence when you're getting that, few time on ice and also a lot of defensive deployment. But in terms of the overall best signing of the offseason, I think that goes to one Ryan O'Reilly. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on him so far, because he's been really, really good. He killed us the last time we played you guys. I think he got 2 goals in that OT win for the Predators. And he had, I think, 5 shots on net today, something like that. Few really good chances. Yeah, just excellent play. And
he's been incredible from the jump, I think, which has been kind of crazy because when that happened, I think a lot of people were just kind of surprised, like, we're like, what Nashville's doing now, right? Like they pushed it, they pushed rebuilding off for 2 or 3 years longer than they should have, and they're tearing everything down. I mean, Barry Trotz came in and he set the old place on fire basically and said, we're gonna let a bunch of guys go, we're gonna put a bunch of contracts on the books and ship them out. And Ryan O'Reilly still wanted to come, and from the first minute, I think the first practice with him and Forsberg on that first line, it was pretty evident that it was going to be something special. I mean, I don't think Nashville has had the type of a power forward kind of that Ryan O'Reilly is in a long time. I mean, Forsberg can do that, but I mean, because he's so talented just because he's got a good combination of technique and power. He can kind of power past the guy and use his body to create a lot of chances, but he's not a true power forward. He's not a guy you're sending crashing the net all the time. And Ryan O'Reilly has been that for Nashville, and they haven't seen anybody really able to do that in quite some time. And they had some runs with getting guys like Wayne Simmons and things like that, way past prime Wayne Simmons, which is fun. That was a fun year.
We know that. We know that all too well too.
Well, was that in him? It was like him and Brian Boyle in that same year that Nashville picked up, and
like
we also know the average age of the Predators by 10 years. But Ryan O'Reilly has just been. I mean, he's I joke about it. I've joked about it a couple of times before that he's the one of the new analytics darling, because like everything he's doing, he's at the net for everything he's generating. He could get maybe just 2 shots on net and having 0.7 expected goals for the game. I mean, he's just incredible. And him and Forsberg working together. I mean, Forsberg is back on a career pace. Before he and Duchesne scored 42 and 43 goals a couple of years back, Nashville had never had a 40-goal scorer. And Filip Forsberg has always been on the cusp of becoming like I guess probably a true superstar in the NHL. He's kind of never quite been there yet. But he's had trouble staying healthy. Or he just hits a slump, and like for the whole month of October he had 1 goal, and then he scored 14 since then. So he's on a really great pace. I mean, I think O'Reilly is back at prime O'Reilly scoring pace right now, which is crazy to think about given his career. But for $4.5 million, like
that's money. That's so
I was really upset. Well spent.
I was really upset when the Leafs when I saw that contract, and I was so hoping he would re-sign with the Leafs, but of course there was some stuff probably going on behind the scenes as well in terms of if he wanted to play with us. But yeah, it was a great contract.
But I mean, and it's been kind of like that in feast or famine for a lot of the guys that Trotz has brought in. You look at guys like Gustav Nyquist. I didn't expect a lot out of him, and he's up on that line with Ryan O'Reilly and Forsberg, and he's been very good, like surprisingly strong. I mean, the guy. I mean, I was in the locker room the night like his wife had his baby that morning, and he was at the game, and he was sitting at the locker room, and right before the cameras came, we turned everything on to talk to him. I was like, we can just go, so you can leave if you want to. He's like, no. He got a goal that night. I mean, he's been really great too. And so there's guys like that. Then also you have guys like Luke Schenn, who Luke Schenn, Tyson Barrie. Those 2 guys are on Nashville's kind of historically known to having this really strong defensive core, and now it's Roman Josi. And Tyson Barrie was brought in the Matthias Ekholm trade, and he brought in to help the power play, and he's been stuck on the second power play unit when he's not been healthy scratch, because he just has not generated anything. And for a guy who's a kind of a offensive defenseman, he's not producing offense, and he's worse off defensively. And so you have kind of back and forth things, and a lot of young players, these are guys that, looking at Tomasino, Evangelista, Kiefer Sherwood. I mean, a lot of these guys, some of these lines you see, Tommy Novak, they work so well together because they played in Milwaukee together for 2 years. Like these guys came up when everybody was injured last year and everything, started to turn over. And so it's nice to see these these guys up there. Not, Evangelista was the first round pick, but guys like Tommy Novak, he's been around for a while. He's played in Milwaukee for quite some time and been around the league a little bit, and he's been a kind of a surprise as well. So it's been interesting. Having those lowered expectations, because
Yeah, it helps.
The team is rebuilding. It does help. It's a lot
Yeah.
of the team is a lot more fun to watch because of Andrew Brunette.
Yeah.
Again, like I thought that Brunette was probably the second best hire of the offseason behind Spencer Carberry, but I think Brunette's making a stronger case for being, probably the best first-year coach so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And, speaking on Tyson Barrie, actually, a lot of similar issues with his tenure with the Leafs in terms of getting power play to time, not really producing all too much, and obviously being a defensive liability. We have had comments back and forth between him and Barry Trotz in terms of him wanting out. And there was actually some there's some discussion about if the Leafs should bring him in because we're looking for defensive help.
I think the SCP talked about it too.
No, yeah, no.
So,
that is not the
guys,
type of defensive help we need.
You can't beat me to my pitch before I make it. This is the Tyson Barrie showcase game.
All right, who do you want?
He helped throw this game for you guys. You guys are mourning, you're grieving for Ohtani, and so he did. He went out of his way to help this team, get a 4-0 shutout. I mean, wouldn't you love to have a player like that on your team? I mean, look how good he was in the power play with Connor McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah, it actually blew my mind that I was seeing some discourse about that. I was like, oh God, no, not the type of player we're looking for on the back end right now. Although he is good, like no disrespect to Tyson Barrie, like give him some power play one time and he will rack up points. But yeah,
I mean that might be a different version of the one that he's since he's been in Nashville. But
he's sort of hit or miss. Like with Edmonton, I thought he was pretty solid on the power play. With us, just wasn't going for him. And then, like with Colorado, he was obviously really good, and then you guys not so much.
But I mean, I think I could pick up a point on like in a a Connor McDavid power play,
or even the Colorado power play, like with McKinnon. Right. Like, he's had talent everywhere he's gone in terms of forward talent, like elite players. So, it's an interesting.
I think he's fitting great with Toronto. I really do.
We'll see if it happens. I really hope it doesn't. But we'll find another trade partner. It's an interesting position to be in for Barrie. I know that I'm sure you saw the Barry Trotz comments. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that, because there's clearly some issues with Barry Trotz in terms of how Barry went public with it. Is there any other comments like that on the Nashville end?
So basically what happened was that the stuff that came out about Barry, I guess, requesting a trade, that came out, I think Trotz came out on the radio here and said basically four people knew about this and it wasn't any of us. And, because I think that they were wanting to, it obviously it isn't working. And I think that the team has seen that and he has seen it. And I think they both, realize that something's not working. And so, I think Trotz was kind of disappointed that it did get out because I think both sides kind of lose leverage in that, Barry's probably gonna Nashville now is gonna be like, well, the price on you now that they know that you're basically floating out there and we're just trying to get rid of you, your price has gone down, what it's gonna take, so maybe not just stick you on the bench and let you ride the bench for a while. Wasn't thrilled with that, but I mean that's another thing with Barry Trotz. I mean, he made it pretty clear, he said he didn't want Nashville to be a place for players to come and retire. And there'd been those comments by a lot of guys over, famously Matt Duchene about how he, he always wanted to be here. But I mean, if you think about it, I mean, Trotz came in and, I think three or, two of the biggest free agents, for forwards for David Poile in recent years were Duchene and Johansson, bringing those two in, and both of them got sent out because, there's just if it's not, they're not going to bring to the table, what he wanted. And they also had a lot of money. It's $8 million for each of those two players. And so a guy like Tyson Barrie, if you get that out there, it drives the price down. Nashville has less of incentive to actually trade you. And so and so it's rough to see that, but I think that Trotz has been pretty clear since day one that you want to be here, you can be here, but if it's just not working out, then they're going to let the guys go. So it's been interesting to see. It's be a very different philosophy than under David Poile.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, we're gonna take a few questions from the chat. So the first one is from Matthew and Curtis Joseph, who are talking about John Tavares because he is now sitting at 998 points, and our next game is against the New York Islanders, and so there is potential that he hits 1,000 in New York against the Islanders, which I am very much hoping happens, because I think the boos would be tremendous.
I think he deserves to, honestly.
I think he deserves to as well. I think there was a lot of, even in the broadcast today, they were talking about how kind of John Tavares has had a bit of a slow start, and play hasn't been exactly up to the standard that he's getting paid for, which is understandable. He has an $11 million cap hit, but with that being said, I think he takes so much more shit than he deserves. Like, he's an excellent player, and I would absolutely love to see it against the Islanders so he can just shove it in their face. I do not like the Islanders.
Couldn't tell.
Yeah, let's see. Another question from Matthew. Barrie or Lyubushkin for the Leafs? Neither.
Yeah. I think that's the real answer.
Yeah.
Do you
not
think
at those cap hits either.
Do you think that they're still in on like Tanev though?
I'm sure they're still in on Tanev.
What do you think it's going to cost
positive.
though?
Oh. So that's my question is
arm and a leg.
Yeah.
What is Toronto plan on doing about the whole cap situation that they're in?
Well, the cap situation is a little easier now with Klingberg decidedly not being able to play the rest of the season. Yeah. So we have $4 million cap space that we didn't have before that they can utilize.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, I think everyone knows the position the Leafs are in. We really don't have a ton of leverage in terms of getting a defenseman, because it's so public that Brad Treliving is looking for a defenseman, and we have 4 injuries on the back end, and now we have an injury to our starting goaltender, so it's going to be even more pressure on the Leafs to kind of make a move. Yeah, it's going to cost an arm and a leg to get Tanev. I don't want to, throw the farm just to get 1 year of Tanev. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
If we're going to pay a lot of money, get someone with term. I don't like spending too much for rentals.
Yeah, that's the go-to that the Leafs have kind of that they've kind of been doing the last couple of years, and you hate to see the amount of darts they kind of throw and nothing. It doesn't really work out for them. Yeah, you kind of want someone to stick around long term. But yeah, I don't know what they're really gonna do. Who else is available that other than Tanev that would be a great fit? It's tough, right?
It'll clear up during the deadline, I think. Right now is a weird time to kind of make a trade like that, in my opinion, unless things really get dire for the Leafs, where we're dropping games because of the goaltending or defensive position. But Liljegren should be back soon. I expect Gio to be back relatively soon, in January, and so I don't want to make a panic move just because we're down a few D-men. We're not in a bad spot right now. So
would you be interested in
stick it out?
Would you be interested in maybe shipping out a Lily or someone like that?
No, not at all.
No. Okay.
No.
What about someone
with contract
with term?
No, because Lily does have term. He only has 1 year left on his contract, but he's an RFA, so you still retain rights.
Yeah.
If it was a guy like Brody, no, because he's useful, right? All of our guys who are rentals.
That's the problem. But you have to get rid of someone if you.
Yeah, you have to give to get, and I don't want to. I don't want to give to get. We're not in a spot where we can really do that. We don't have that much offensive depth either. You can't go out and sell even a guy like Calle Yarncroke. Who are you going to slot in there instead of him? The one guy you can ship out.
Is incredible. Another
he
one
is
on this show, because I'm just forever a Calle Yarncroke fan. I have missed him so much since he went in the expansion draft to Seattle. He was all over the place tonight too. He was incredible.
He is incredible, and the best thing about Calle Yarncroke is he can slot in anywhere in the lineup. You put him in a bottom six defensive role, he excels. You put him with Matthews and Marner, and he was one of the better players in that top 6. Obviously it's not ideal. You want a high offense player, but you can slot him there in a pinch, and he doesn't look out of place. He's got a killer shot. Calle Yarncroke at $2.1 million is so good. And
my boy got no movement or modified no trade clause. So I mean, good for him.
There's not a lot of things you can do. You could ship out Ryan Reeves, and good luck getting anything back for him. That's the only player that's really
you say that, but Reeves is the type of guy that teams that are in playoff position will waste money on at the deadline.
Yeah. It happens every year.
Those types of players. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't count that possibility out. And also, maybe sending Yarncroke back to Nashville, that'd also be not a bad idea. And I mean,
for Tyson Barrie, we're doing
yeah. Well, mostly joking, but yes, Tyson Barrie. But I mean, if you guys, another I think player that I don't like this idea, but this rumor has been going around for over probably a year and a half now, is Dante Fabro with Nashville.
Oh, I like Fabro.
I do too. He got kind of pushed into service after his time in college hockey, and I think he's just not been. Nashville, I think fans look at a defensive player and they're like, okay, is this a Shea Weber? Is this a Roman Josi? Is this a Ryan Ellis? Is this Matthias Ekholm got a lot of flack for a long time, and he was probably over the course of 3 or 4 years with Nashville. I mean, he played as one of the best defensive defensemen in the entire NHL. But Nashville kind of had that whole mythos around their offensive defensemen. And, and so he hasn't, he's had some rookie mistakes. I mean, he's a young guy, but I think that he's absolutely been a good part of this team, especially now, this team being as young as it is. I mean, he's kind of like the second marquee defenseman that Nashville has. That's like Madonna, who's been kind of out in and out of the lineup. And so, a guy like Dante Fabro, which I'm trying to see what his cap hit is. It can't be much. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I mean, I'm pretty sure he's on a pretty cheap deal. Yeah, 2.5 million ends this year, and he's a RFA.
Yeah, and he's got a 56% expected goals. All situations. Let's see, 5-on-5 here. Yeah, 57.1% on ice expected goals percentage according to Money Puck at 5-on-5. Like, I like his advanced stats. I'd be curious to see what he would cost. But if we were going to get someone, I'd be fine with Dante Fabro. I like him.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to see that happen. I would like to see. I mean, he did, the development that it took for him to get to Nashville and play this type of role. I think that he's not quite at the peak. He's not at the peak of what he can do. I think he's a very good defenseman. It may just take some time, or it could be a thing where he gets some change of scenery and explodes. But he's a guy that I think that's the type of player I think that, if you're really hunting for a defenseman over the next couple of months, like that's the type of player you might want to zero in on, because you can get a guy who's, especially with, 1 year left at 2.5, you'd have RFA rights on the players. You can, have extra time to work with him. That's kind of an ideal situation, especially for a team that's so strapped right now. Like Toronto, I think it's like $16 million in the LTIR pool. So
that's a lot. Yeah,
that some of that stuff has to get taken care of eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's unfortunate you can't control injuries and things like that. But it's that's the type of signing and the kind of deal that you get at the deadline where that doesn't push your off season back, or doesn't keep you take a step back when you get to the off season. It didn't work out for the playoffs, so now you've got this guy you got to try to get rid of, or doesn't want to return. I think it's a really good situation for Toronto if they can find a player like that.
Yeah. All right, we got another question here. It's from Luke Venables, sorry if I mispronounced that. He said that shutout was X% solid defense and Y% Samsonov. What are your X and Y values? And I would say like a solid 50-50. Like Samsonov was excellent today, but there were a few chances where rebound control was a bit of an issue, and I thought the defense did a really good job of making sure that they either blocked the shot. Like you saw Timmins with a really bad giveaway in the first period, and then he hustles back to block a shot, like prime scoring area. And I think that was the big key that I haven't really seen in the past few games, was the commitment to defense. And especially after giving the puck away, like Nylander also had to play in the offensive zone where he was the last man back, gave the puck away, and then hustled back and took a chance away as well. There was a strong commitment to defense from like everyone on the ice for the Leafs, and I thought they did a good job of removing that second and third chance. And really, Samsonov just had to make that first save, and he was pretty excellent throughout in terms of positioning. He was super aggressive. I really liked his game. So, yeah, I would say 50-50 on that one. What do you think? Go ahead.
I was going to say, Samsonov, he did really great. I mean, he was, perfect. I mean, he was a shutout.
Yeah.
But he also, 14 shots at 5-on-5. I mean, he didn't face very much at all. And that's, I mean, and again, I'd say 75-25, but that's nothing against Samsonov. He did his job, better. I mean, the best you can do it. You can't ask for more out of a goaltender, except for maybe a goal or something too. But he didn't have much, and he barely just hit one expected goal against him in 5-on-5. So I mean, he didn't have to do much, but that's because the defense was just so outstanding for Toronto.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Brian. I think the defense was fantastic today, and that's something that's kind of haunted the Leafs the last couple of games, or honestly this whole season. Woll has had to absolutely stand on his head to get the Leafs.
Pretty much why he got injured too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like last game, like he was fantastic. It's the first time in a long time where I thought that, hey, the Leafs actually goalied someone.
Yeah.
So when that happens, yeah, you're having a lot of fun. But yeah, like today you get Sammy in. Sammy hasn't looked good this entire season. He's coming off, like you said, the flu, right? And he's obviously had a lot of time off. And he didn't have a lot of he didn't have a lot of shots like he really had to block. I think it ended off with 18 shots on goal by Nashville, and like you said, Brian, like there wasn't a lot of high scoring chances at all. So that was really good to see from the Leafs players through and throughout the entire roster. They all they all committed to defense and just helped the guy out. And yeah, it didn't leave it up to chance for Sammy to have to make some outstanding saves, right? So I would say, yeah, like the 60-40, somewhere around there. All right. And I think that's there's a lot of the questions done here. Armaan, did you see any other questions you wanted to go for?
No, we can end it there.
Perfect. Okay. So again, Brian, thanks again for coming out tonight. It was a fun game for us. I'm sure it wasn't as fun for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kept it interesting for a long time. I think. I mean, I was surprised that Toronto, when Nashville lets a game like this kind of get away as far as like on offense. Usually, you see like their matchups against Edmonton where it's a 7-1, 8-0 victor or loss, for Nashville. I was very surprised that Toronto didn't open up a bigger lead earlier. I mean,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't think that Nashville had a chance, even just being down 2 coming into the third, just the way that they played. But I mean, that's kind of a dangerous 2-goal lead to kind of dangle in front, because, one goal, like, somebody probably Novak hits and gets a goal instead of a post. It's just 1-goal game and it could have changed. But, it was fun to watch, at least. I think it was fun to get my mind off of all the things that are happening around me today. So at least there was that. And again, my thoughts and prayers for you guys up in Toronto for your baseball woes, because that's rough.
We'll have the weekend to go over and cry our eyes out for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna do it here from us. For all of you guys watching, thank you guys for sticking around. We appreciate each and every one of you. Everyone listening at home, thank you. If you're still here, make sure you click the like. Make sure you hit subscribe. We've got a lot of other game overs for all the other Canadian markets here on the SDPN YouTube channel. Brian, give us a shout out. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at on the forecheck there. I'll be providing coverage for about half the home games this season, so I'll be there. Also, after almost every game, do a little bit of a recap segment for the Renegades of Puck on YouTube. You can search that. We do try to get a full game recap. Charlie Saunier, he's the one who hosts that. I mean, he does a ton of work every single night after every Nashville game to get that up within a few hours of the game being over. And then I do a little 5-minute stats talk at the end, because everybody loves math. So that's where you can find me. And then doing some stuff too with the larger network with for hockey fans, which is kind of where a lot of the former SB Nation sites went, and we've been had great leadership. I got people like Steph Driver, who's really helped get us all back together and working together, and things to start to really pick back up. So I'm excited for that in the future as well.
Yeah, that's great. Everyone, make sure you check that out. There's a lot of fun stuff going on there. And then Armaan, give us your socials.
You can find me on Twitter at Armaan Pantiki, as always.
And for myself, it's Harnish_Patel98. That's gonna do it here from us. Have a great night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We will see you guys. When's the next game against the Islanders?
November 11th, I think. Yeah, November 11th.
You mean December?
I mean December 11th.
December 11th, 2 days from now. Yeah.
We'll don't play for another 11 months.
We'll see you guys all there. Good night.